sense we're going to talk about a lot. As a lifestyle medicine doctor, I want you to have a lifestyle that you don't need a vacation from. I used to say that all the time, but it's so true. And the reason, it came up 2 times recently, and I'll explain why it's important. Especially as we get older, when we take a vacation from our lifestyle, like when we just let loose, it takes a real toll, right? It can change our gut health. It increases inflammation. It can raise our blood pressure. And these things that we used to be, able to tolerate in a younger body, they're not as well tolerated in an older body, and it takes longer to recover. And not only that, the consequences can be really bad. But that's not the only thing. I want you to have a lifestyle that you enjoy. And so while you may start, we always talk about the spectrum of the standard American diet to whole food plant-based. I don't know. That's just one example of one of the lifestyle things that we work on. But you may start with a standard American diet, which is mostly ultra-processed foods, low in fiber. Step you take along that path towards whole food plant-based. So the more plants, the more fiber you consume, the better it is for your body, because those foods are actually healing. Notice I'm not talking about eliminating ultra-processed foods. I'm specifically talking about adding in foods that are healing, because that's the part that we often leave out. And the thing is, when we gradually move that way and we create a foundation that is healing, I talk about this foundation a lot now, because what it does, when we have that foundation, it makes our body more resilient. When we are faced with an illness or a stressor, our body doesn't respond by this huge stress response resulting in high, or we're not coming from a level where we're already, inflamed and stressed. We're coming from a level in a body that's more healing, that can handle that stressor, because our antioxidant level consumption is high, our restorative systems are robust. And so this is really important. So back to the vacation thing. Ultimately, the goal is you make a stepwise change, and this foundation becomes your foundation no matter where you are. So yeah, it doesn't mean that you're refusing things or restricting things. It means that you're actually focused on making sure that you get those foundational things every day, whether it's a walk, whether it's meditation, maybe it's deep breathing, maybe it's the foundation of those fiber-rich foods. And then if you do that and you have your cake or whatever it is that you're going to have wherever you are, croissants in Paris, I don't know, but you can have those things, number one, guilt-free, because that's really a big part of it. Is you shouldn't feel guilty about what you do. You shouldn't should yourself all the time. I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't do that. I wholeheartedly believe that when you have whatever it is, if it's a family party, if it's whatever it is, you should fully enjoy it with all of your senses and not feel the guilt, because the guilt is doing no good. But, maybe reframe it. Think about maybe next time, if you feel bad, if you feel like it took you off your path, don't beat yourself up. Just think about, okay, well, next time I'm in this situation, how can I plan differently? What will I do in this situation next time this happens? And so this came up this week. I mentioned in my coaching group, and also one of the patients that I saw this week who was talking about going away, planning for her trip in later this summer, and planning to, not follow her plan, and thinking that, what is she going to do when she comes back, or how should she approach that? And this is why, I wanted to do this video today. The other one was a friend that had a graduation and ended up visiting family that she hadn't seen in a long time, so fell into the patterns of eating those foods. But the thing that she noticed was that she was actually craving the more whole foods pattern that she'd been consuming. And so she, consumed and enjoyed the food, but did feel a little sick afterwards. But she did seek out, another place to get nourishing foods that supported her goals. And that's really, the key. It's not that you're beating yourself up. She didn't say, oh, I shouldn't have done that. She said, I enjoyed it. I hung out with family. I did the thing. But then I also made sure that I, replenished myself with foods that were more nourishing. And, that's ultimately the goal again.
So really the key is, when I work with patients in my practice, we take the time to break down what their goals are, where their health is, what the relation is of their lifestyle to where their health is now and where they want to go. And then we gradually work on building habits that are evidence-based, that will truly support them reaching their health goals. And the thing is, when we do it this way and we honor, you know, lived experience, because we all have different lives that we're living, we have different lives that we've come from, we have different responsibilities in our lives. When we honor, you know, cultural foods we grew up with and our situations, you know, our social situations, when we honor, you know, weight, inclusivity, when we honor joy, because we're on this planet to enjoy life. We have five senses, we have higher brain functioning for a reason, because, and this has an effect on our health. You know, when our lifestyle is not congruent, in alignment with what, you know, our social goals are, and it's not in alignment with our health goals, this is where we have all this conflict. And so bringing it all together and making a stepwise change, you know, recognizing that lifestyle change takes time. But when you build that foundation, and that's really the key, when I talk about it all the time, it's the foundation. It's not, you know, going to a party one night. It's what you do every day. Those small, consistent steps make the biggest difference. And when we can embrace that, and when we can honor that nature takes time, and we can, you know, move within, you know, our life and our health goals and, you know, our social responsibilities, our home responsibilities, and we can weave this all together into a lifestyle that is livable and that we don't need a vacation from. Because, you know, it doesn't make any sense to have a list of rules when you go on vacation that are really hard to follow. You know, it is important to have bumpers. It's not, I'm not saying that, you know, that I'm not saying either of the two things. That one thing, that you should be so restrictive that you shouldn't, you know, you shouldn't be able to go anywhere but your own home. But I'm also not saying that we need to let go of everything. And I think that, and it's not, people always talk about, you know, balance, and their idea of balance is, oh, I do well during the week and then I party on the weekends, or, you know, my balance is, you know, I have salad for lunch so that I can have whatever craziness for dinner. It's really a pattern that is a baseline of functioning that you honor, because it's part of you, and it takes time for it to become part of you. I mean, as you know, I started as an omnivore. I'm now vegan. I've been vegan, plant-based, I like to say, for, oh my God, I can't remember, more than 15 years. And yeah, it takes a while to get used to that pattern of eating. It becomes automatic though. You know, when you first do it, you have to think about it. And I have this framework. I talk about plants when you're making a lifestyle change, where you have to have, P is for personalization. You have to have a why that goes beyond, well, my doctor said so, oh, my mother said so, or, you know, my labs say so. It has to really mean something to you. Like, what does it really mean to you? You have to learn, you have to understand the connection between your lifestyle and your goals, and how they can support each other or work against each other. You have to act on the knowledge. You have to actually move the steps and live the life, live the new lifestyle. And then, you know, when you do the new lifestyle, you have to nurture it. You have to try it out. You have to adjust along the way, and you keep nurturing, and then eventually it becomes automatic, and it's a transformation, and you become that new person. I become plant-based. You become that lifestyle, and then you're not thinking about it anymore. It just naturally, it's not a question. And then the S, well, that's the real transformation. Then you become a steward, because you feel so good in this new lifestyle. You really have embraced it fully, that you want everybody to reap the benefits. You want to tell everybody about this lifestyle that you're living. And that's the goal. And that's what I do in my practice. So follow along for more. Subscribe. Make sure you like, you share if you found this helpful. You can grab my fiber guide, which is where I start with all of my patients. That's foundational. If you are in New York or Vermont, you can book a discovery call, because I see patients there. I help women and families reverse metabolic disease. And I have several coaching programs available. So just grab my fiber guide and follow along.